We turn to Washington, where congressional Democrats are openly criticizing the secrecy surrounding the negotiations over the Trans-Pacific Partnership, known as the TPP. This comes as President Obama begins a major push to pass the controversial deal. The United States is in talks with 11 Latin American and Asian countries for the sweeping trade pact that would cover 40% of the global economy. But its provisions have mostly been kept secret. After the White House deemed a briefing on the trade pact classified, Congressman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut called the measures needlessly secretive, saying, quote, if the TPP would be as good for American jobs as they claim, there should be nothing to hide. Well, this comes as President Obama recently called on Congress to pass fast-track legislation to streamline the passage of trade deals through Congress.
As we speak, China is trying to write the rules for trade in the 21st century. That would put our workers and our businesses at a massive disadvantage. We can't let that happen. We should write those rules. That's why Congress should act on something called Trade Promotion Authority.
Meanwhile, the AFL-CIO says it'll withhold contributions to congressional Democrats to pressure them to vote no on fast-track authority. And some Tea Party-backed Republicans are saying Obama cannot be trusted with the same negotiating authority that past presidents have had. This spring, the White House has invited Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to address a joint session of Congress in which he may promote the Trans-Pacific Partnership. For more, we're joined by Lori Wallach, Director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. As the push for the TPP heats up, she was recently featured in a National Journal profile headlined, "The Trade Debate's Guerrilla Warrior Gets Her Day." Welcome back to Democracy Now! Tell us about what you're most concerned about, Lori.
Well, fast-tracking the TPP would make it easier to offshore our jobs and would put downward pressure, enormous downward pressure on Americans' wages, because it would throw American workers into competition with workers in Vietnam who are paid less than 60 cents an hour and have no labor rights to organize to better their situation. Plus, the TPP would empower another 25,000 foreign corporations to use the investor state tribunals, the corporate tribunals, to attack our laws. And then there would be another 25,000 U.S. corporations in the other TPP countries who could use investor state to attack their environmental and health and labor and safety laws. And if all that weren't enough, Big Pharma would get new monopoly patent rights that would jack up medicine prices, cutting off affordable access. And there's rollback of financial regulations put in place after the global financial crisis. And there's a ban on buy local, buy domestic policies. And it would undermine the policy space that we have to deal with the climate crisis. Energy policies are covered. Basically, almost any progressive policy or goal would be undermined, rolled back. Plus, we would see more offshoring of jobs and more downward pressure on wages. So the big battle is over fast-track the process. And right now, thanks to a lot of pushback by activists across the country, actually they don't have a majority to pass it. But there's an enormous push to change that, and that's basically where we all come in.